The Alcatraz Escape. On June 11, 1962, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin were serving time at Alcatraz, the notorious high-security prison located on an island in San Francisco Bay. Alcatraz was considered inescapable with thick concrete walls, armed guards, and cold, treacherous waters surrounding the island. For most inmates, escape was an impossible dream, yet Morris and the Anglins were determined to challenge that belief. The planning began months earlier. Each night, under the cover of darkness, the men carefully chipped away at the concrete walls of their cells, using improvised tools, spoons, small drills, and anything else they could hide from the guards. They worked meticulously, shaving off small pieces at a time, and hiding the debris in the walls, ceilings, and even in their pockets to dispose of later. The process was painstakingly slow, but the men were patient, knowing that rushing would risk discovery. To ensure they were not caught during nightly inspections, they constructed lifelike dummy heads from papier-mâché, human hair, and paint. These dummy heads were placed in their beds, positioned with the eyes staring upward, and hair combed to appear realistic. When the guards conducted bed checks, they were fooled by the sight of three sleeping men, unaware that the prisoners were actively digging just inches away. Finally, the night of the escape arrived. Once the holes were completed, Morris and the Anglin brothers crawled through the narrow openings they had painstakingly created, squeezing through utility corridors and maintenance tunnels. Every step required precision. A single wrong movement could alert the guards or trap them in the confined spaces. After navigating the labyrinthine passages, they emerged on the prison roof, under the cold, starry sky of San Francisco Bay. The final stage was perhaps the most dangerous. Using a raft and life vests fashioned entirely from raincoats, the men lowered themselves into the frigid waters. The currents around Alcatraz were notoriously strong, with shifting tides and icy temperatures that could easily overwhelm even the strongest swimmer. Despite these dangers, the trio pressed on, paddling quietly into the night, their figures soon swallowed by darkness. Authorities discovered the escape the following morning. Alarms were sounded, and a massive search was launched across the island and surrounding waters. Despite this, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers were never found. Some theorized that they had drowned in the bay, their bodies claimed by the cold currents. Others believed they had survived, possibly reaching the West Coast or even South America, living out their lives under new identities. Over the decades, sightings and tips have suggested they may have made it, but nothing has been confirmed. The escape pod. On April 5, 2006, Richard Lee McNair, a convicted murderer, was incarcerated at the United States Penitentiary in Pollock, Louisiana. McNair had previously escaped from two other facilities using unconventional methods. This time, he devised an even more audacious plan. McNair's prison job involved repairing old torn mailbags. Over several months, he meticulously planned his escape, using his work assignment as a cover. He constructed a concealed compartment, or escape pod, within a pallet of used mailbags. The pod included a breathing tube, allowing him to remain hidden and breathe while enclosed. On the day of the escape, McNair concealed himself inside the pod, which was then shrink-wrapped and forklifted out of the prison's secure area. The pallet was transported to a nearby warehouse outside the prison fence. Once the warehouse staff left for lunch, McNair cut himself out of the pod and walked to freedom. Hours after his escape, McNair was stopped by a police officer while walking along railroad tracks near Ball, Louisiana. The officer, Carl Bordelon, questioned McNair, who provided a plausible explanation, claiming he was a jogger in town to help with post-Katrina roofing projects. Bordelon, relying on a 6-month-old photo and McNair's calm demeanor, allowed him to continue. This encounter was captured on the officer's dashcam and later became widely known. McNair's escape became a national sensation. He was featured multiple times on America's Most Wanted and was added to the U.S. Marshal's 15 Most Wanted list. Despite extensive efforts to locate him, McNair remained at large for over a year. In October 2007, McNair was apprehended in Canada during a routine police check. He had been living under various aliases and had traveled across the country, evading capture. His time as a fugitive was largely documented through correspondence with Canadian journalist Byron Christopher,